Duperas y Duperas, today on Doop by the River. It's the middle of rivalry week, as the MLS would call it. Philadelphia just completed their midweek match against DC United, and as they prepare for New England this upcoming weekend, we will be previewing it here today and giving you guys our thoughts on what's going to happen this upcoming Saturday. And don't you dare go anywhere, because you do not want to miss this episode of Doop by the River. And let's get it started, guys. Doop by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Doop by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. Of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before diving into today's episode, real quick, I want to welcome everyone into today's episode. Thank you for tuning on into Doop by the River. If you are watching live on El Parcero Philly's YouTube channel, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe for all of your future viewings of Doop by the River. And, of course, if you're live here on Twitter, thank you so much for tuning on here as well. If you haven't followed yet, make sure you guys are following our boy Tim Loving, who did a fantastic job of covering all the sight and sounds of Subaru Park last night. So you definitely don't want to miss out. Make sure you guys follow on there as well. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by my expert in duping. Please welcome today Justin Bruce Juice Distributor Friedberg. Justin, what's up, brother? How you feeling, man?
Exhausted. It was a long night last night. Got home a little late because despite it being a Wednesday game, that was a pretty full crowd.
Dude, can we talk about that? So what was that about? Because that was the worst traffic I've seen, and that was a Wednesday match. This was a Saturday. This is a Wednesday regular season match, bro.
I don't know. Like, Saturdays, I'm used to it, and it's fine because, Sundays is usually my day to really do nothing, do stuff around the house, kind of get sleep in. So, getting home late isn't a big deal, I was waiting in the Sons of Ben lot, and I'm like, all right, it's been half an hour, 45 minutes. It's like the traffic's still bad. It was like it was beyond nothing. I don't think I got home till close to midnight.
Dude, really?
Yeah, I was waiting it out. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. No, just for some context here. So as the match left, I always take my time because I know that factor. So I walked from the media box. I walked all the way down. I wanted to go check out the team store. I was really interested in the new vintage tee that they released this past week, the black one. I wanted to check out that. I want to check out the store. And then, I slowly make my way outside. I record the match recap. So shouts to everyone who tuned in last night to the match recap. We were live outside Subaru Park. And then I walked to my car, still taking my time. And Justin, I left around 10:30 from my parking spot. Didn't get home until 11:30, so I'm there with you. And it was just crazy. I just wanted to ask, what was that really all about? The crowd was really good for a Wednesday match, but for it to be that crazy leaving Subaru Park, it just it's never been like that.
I was telling Tim, I'm like, I remember when it was, the Wednesday games were basically like Open Cup matches where you'd have half the crowd and you'd be in and out, no problem.
Dude, it was absolutely wild. So yeah, Union, if we can get some answers, that'd be great. I did notice that, typically during matches, in the neighborhood in Chester, they got cops and they kind of secure every block, trying to move the traffic along quicker. Didn't see as many cops there. Maybe that was the issue, but I don't know. It was definitely interesting to say the least, man. But hey, we got out. We were all safe. We got a point, which we'll talk about here right now. So obviously last night, one of two matches for this week, Union versus DC United. And I guess we got to start off with this, Justin. Where's this rivalry to you? Because it's a weird one to me. Obviously, a lot of fans were DC guys before 2010. And the 2010s, there was back and forth battles, but obviously as of late, the Union kind of really taking control of it. But, where is this rank in your mind?
Not very high,
right?
And it's not just because it's been so one-sided in the last 3 or 4 years. I just think the matchups with Red Bull, with NYCFC, even with New, like a lot more of them have had higher stakes and a lot more drama. So it really hasn't had the same gravitas, same weight to it.
I have to agree with you there. Did we, if I'm not mistaken, in the 2010s, did we struggle in RFK? Playing
Yeah,
there?
going to DC was a bit of a challenge, at least for the first few years. But it for the last 4 years or so, it's been kind of 4 or 5 years. It's kind of been the reverse.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, for sure. I mean, when you beat them in total 13-0 in both matches last year, it kind of just tells you where the state of this is. But that was kind of the surprising part. So we'll get into this matchup here. Union versus DC United on a Wednesday night. Lives are a little bit interesting. MLS Soccer, ESPN have all different things. But predominantly, really what you did see was obviously Andre Blake in goal, a back line of Wagner, Elliott, Glesis, and Harriel. You kind of can just chalk it up however you want it, whether it be a 4-3-2-1, a 4-2-3-1. But this to me looked more like a Christmas tree than it did a 4-2-3-1. So you had Flock, Bedoya, and Real in your midfield, Gazek and Torres as your attacking guys, with Carranza as your solo striker there. And yeah, I mean, a lot of goals to talk about here because it was a 0-0 draw. I'm obviously being sarcastic, but no goals, obviously, some chances. The Union, if I'm not mistaken, they had 14 shots, 2 on target, if I saw that correctly last night. 16 shots, just one big shot here on foot mob. But Justin, I want to get your thoughts first. So obviously, look, the defense is pretty solid as Andre Blake gets his 600 starts. So, congratulations to our boy Andre Blake, all-time leading starts in Union history. That was pretty dope before the match, but another clean sheet. And this defense seems to have found their grounding. They look like last year. They're just they're hard to get by now. But the attack is still not finding that chemistry. They're struggling in the final third. But what have you seen from the attack last night?
Yeah, I mean, you made a good point. The defense has been locked down.
Mike's right too, man.
Like the defense is kind of picking up where they left off. Like, I mean, you're talking, even going back, you're what, 5 undefeated in 7 games. If you go back as far back as Chicago draw. It's like I think this game kind of confirmed that Torres is better as a super sub. It feels like, I mean, first off, Joaquin, like Tyler Miller, I'm amazed we did not capitalize on the amount of times he was playing sweeper keeper, which is not his
What
role.
was that about?
Yeah, I think he was kind of forced to because they play a back 3 of sorts, and I think you kind of needed him to kind of be playing a little higher. The Union and most times would have capitalized on that. I think if you do a normal lineup and if Uwa isn't coming back from getting his knee drained, which was a minor procedure, but I think he would have started, and then that would have been way more dangerous. I mean, Torres first off should have shot it like mid-feet. He had like 5 seconds where he dribbles it and then fires a terrible shot. I mean, Carranza is doing all the dirty work, and he reminds me of a bit more of a clinical CJ, where he does all of the dirty work. He draws the fouls. He gets in there. There's a lot of chances, but it just felt like something was off. And I will say, I think, like, I felt bad for Matty Real. He gets pulled early in the second half. There wasn't much like for him to do in that game. I felt kind of bad for him in that spot. I thought Ali. I mean, I'm surprised they subbed Ali off, but I thought he had a relatively decent game.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Like overall, I like just thinking about how like this offense has been. I think you're like obviously between injuries and the congestion. I think like you would think more games would get this team more in sync, and I feel like the congestion kind of not scrambled things, but you've seen where between Carranza occasionally being suspended and and Uwa getting hurt, you've seen a bit of a kind of like stop-start offensive production.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, again, I always say this, the team the first few months kind of is a tough Union team to watch, like historically, no matter what the season. It's kind of how it's always been. Yeah. I, for the life of me, cannot understand like why before the calendar hits June, we are just kind of like up and down. But you look at this offense and you look at how this team has been, the team really should have won. I mean, again, this DC team is DC team is much improved. I kept seeing people were saying that DC was dominating that game. They had a lot of possession, but they had their chances really came in the first half. I don't think they were first of all, they're not cool. Christian off the ball left. But Teke was getting bodied off the ball, which made me laugh because like he's such a big guy, and Jakob Glesnes kind of had him in his back pocket. So I found that interesting. Tim and I were laughing about that the whole time. Like every time he'd go down and he'd look up for a call, and the ref staring at him like,
yeah,
get up. Like it was pretty. It seemed pretty obvious.
Yeah,
but it just felt like it was hard to for me. It's hard to put a finger on what exactly it was. But for me, 100% is that having Gazdag and Torres on the field at the same time feels counterproductive because they get in each other's way. Like, yeah. And like I said, Joaquin's a great super sub, but they absolutely get in each other's way.
No, man, it's definitely a good point. I mean, real quick, I just want to say hello to some of our guys here in the comments section. We got Mike in the building. What's up, Mike? I'll get to that in a second, Mike. We got Raynell in here. What's up, Raynell? And then Jose, seriously, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that, man. My man's taking a break from Zelda. That's some real shit right there.
That's impressive because I haven't even really taken much in Breath of the Wild, and people are already talking about Tears of the Kingdom. And I'm like,
my guy, we appreciate that, Jose. And thank you so much for that kind words, man. Shouts to Skyler from Union Nation. My dude was a class act. Any question I had, he was really helpful. But yeah, it was really dope being up there. I just love the view up there. Except for when you sit kind of near like that bar where it divides like the curtains or whatever you call it. But regardless, it was a dope view there. But to this point here, Mike says, hate to say it, Real not up to par. I felt like the midfield, like the three guys in that midfield. So however you want to rank that, but like Flock, Real, and then Torres obviously up top below, who's more like the attacking guy. I feel like those three, to me, not like they were kind of like the weak point in the attack yesterday. Real, I just felt like he was out of place. Now, I'm not sure if that was just him not sure where to go. Guys were in different positions, so kind of left him like, what the fuck do I do now? When it comes to Joaquin Torres, I think he's just doing way too much. We talked about it. Like I met up with you at halftime and 139, and when I see Joaquin Torres, I see a little bit of Jamiro. And when I see Joaquin trying to do the little spin moves, trying to dribble through guys, that was our frustration with Jamiro Montero. And we know that Joaquin is really good at a role. We know he's got the talent for this, kind of like with Miro. And so it's kind of what I see there with Joaquin Torres. One thing I wanted to just mention, if you're going to put guys like Real, guys like Joaquin Torres out there, number one, your point was spot on. Gazak and Torres, don't think they should be playing together because it's literally the same guy. They're getting in each other's ways. But if you're going to run with Torres, with Real, even with Bueno, guys like that, I need those two forwards up there. there's a clear difference to me when you have the two forwards, especially in the attack. I like Urre, Carranza, and Gazdag really were feeding off of each other last year when you had those two forwards up there. But it to me, like the final third issue has been a lot of overthinking, like the frustration in the second half, cross after cross and nice balls from Bedoya, Harriel, and guys are just not even fighting for the ball, not even getting a foot on the ball. I think it was just frustrating them. Yes, DC at times had nice opportunities, but I did not feel like DC was the better team. I felt like the match was pretty evenly contested, and I just felt like the Union could have just walked away with 3 points. It was there for the taking. They had the opportunity, especially in the second half, and they just couldn't capitalize. And that's really where we're at right now, man. Like this team, we know they could put 6 goals. Like I still think that team is still in this team right now. But right now, what we're trying to do is just get goals and get those dubs, get those secure dubs. So, I mean, you look at even like the Colorado match. Like, those were 2 really good individual goals that you got, my man. That wasn't just team build. That was just 2 really good individual plays. So right now, this team just needs to be on the same level, and that's kind of where we're at right now with this attack, brother.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're looking at how the schedule is kind of lining up. You're starting to level out more. I mean, there's some weeks like this week where you'll have 2 matches in a week, and then this week you don't play until next Saturday, and then you have Wednesday, Saturday, and then you have your Saturday, and then you have a bit like you have a few road games, and then once you hit, I believe I think the July 15th, and then obviously technically you have Leagues Cup, but it's just kind of a little bit of a break in there because your next league game after that isn't until like August, mid-August. So this team is going to settle in.
Yeah,
the team is too good. They're in prime position. The way that this Eastern Conference is right now, if they can keep themselves with, listen, a win on Saturday and certain results, and I believe they can slip up to like 4th or 5th. So like it's again the way this East is, it's gonna be like this all year. I think it's gonna be tight. I don't think there's gonna be a separation. I think that just shows how strong the East is. But at the same time, it's like, listen, this Union team is just gonna kind of. I still hold that I think they do need to explore some options for maybe a veteran forward in the summer. Kai Kamara, if you want to come to Philly, I have been saying this. I've been saying this for a while, and you and I.
Dude, Justin's already pre-ordered the jersey.
Let's not go that far, but I've been on the Kai Kamara to Philly train for a long time.
That's exactly what we need, man.
And I think he's the kind of guy that would do very well here. Again, I think I've been saying this. I think that is what this team is missing.
Yes.
When Corey Burke left, it wasn't the pace it was that reliable veteran presence off the bench, someone that is going to give you the hustle, is going to give you quality minutes. And I mean, Corey, you knew Corey was good for at least 5 to 10 goals a season. Like, as a guy coming off the bench, that's a pretty damn good bench effort for a third forward. Like, obviously, your first, like, again, last year you had 3 double-digit goal scorers, and Corey Burke was nearly 4. And
Corey last year,
kind of what you're missing here.
Corey last year in 36 MLS matches had 8 goals and 4 assists, and that's someone who's predominantly coming off the bench, is tiring out already tired back line. So, dude, like, imagine you're Kai Kamara, right? And by the way, Philadelphia fits Kai like a glove, okay? And you tell Kai, listen, Kai, all you got to do is we need you here to come out in the 60th minute and just bury back lines and bury goals. Dude, Kai's got to be salivating at the thought of that, man. That's just a dream scenario right there for Kai Kamara. Jose, my goal is I want to watch the Union from every single angle I possibly can. I've almost watched it from everywhere in Rivers End, except for like the Capo stand, which I probably won't do, which is fine. I definitely want to check out the whole, I guess the left side where the sidelines are, where like the teams are. Kind of want to watch every area there. Never watched on the other side. I've obviously watched it during the family sections that they like to call it. 150 was it like 115 to like 120, something like that. But yeah, my goal is to watch the Union from every single angle of Subaru Park. So we'll get to that. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. I want to say hello to Mike, our boy Mike Pereira of Across the Pitch. What's going on, guys?
I actually met Mike at
Dude. Mike's a great dude, man.
On Saturday. We were talking it up. He was it was nice catching up, and we were shooting this shit for a while. And listen, if you know me and you've met me, I am a sucker for talking tactics. And if you start me on the conversation, I will not stop. And as people pointed out on social media, yes, that is exactly what I was talking to Tim about while he was tweeting on the official pod account. It was me just going on and on about tactics, and it's just like, no matter what, like if you at any point you catch us, I will. If I'm in my usual seat, I will be leaning over. Like it's just genuinely how games operate, and it's like that's why, like on away days, when Tim doesn't go, I'm just like, great. Who do I talk to about tactics now?
That is awesome, man. Mike, Martinez getting back in the starting role will be a boost. I thought he looked solid, and it was like 20 minutes he was in there. I
was concerned that he nearly went down with a non-contact. He grabbed his like stomach, ribs, and I was like, oh no, like not. But yeah, hopefully, I think that was a good way to ease him in. I think he'll be back in the starting lineup.
Dude, the roar when he went in the match, though, like the place got really loud when Brujo went in there, man.
That's what I. Brujo is one of those kind of divisive players that like you love him, but you also know like it's either you really love him or you're just like clenching with bated breath every time he starts dribbling on the ball.
Yeah, it is true, man. It is true. Jose brings up a really good point, and I talked about this during the Union preview shows and recap shows. It's hard to believe the settle in part when 92% of the last year's minutes are back. Should have been good to go from the beginning. Look, this is where I look at it, Jose. This team has played what now, 20-some matches already thus far through CCL, U.S. Open Cup, and MLS play. That's like typically that's like almost two-thirds of your MLS season, and these guys still haven't kind of settled in, as Jose said, and that's kind of like why isn't it not clicking? I'm chalking it up to it's a lot of mental, and that's kind of coaching got to figure out how to get these guys even keel. But unfortunately, it's kind of like a wait and see type of situation. Now, typically, historically, the warmer the weather gets, this team turns it on. So that's just kind of what we're banking on right now.
Just gotta thaw out. Just gotta thaw out from the winter.
Yeah, man, dude, Jose, you're trying to violate food code regulations here, brother? Come on, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, come on. We comply with FDA standards over here.
Ooh, Mike with a good one. Now, will we have any double-digit goal scorers in 2020?
I mean, at this point, I think Uwa's at 5 in league play. I think you're gonna have at least one.
Right.
Carranza's a little slower. I mean, I believe he's not that far off. But I think in overall goals, I know Gazag's at 7. Carranza, I think overall in total competitions, you're gonna have probably about the same effect.
Yeah, man.
So we'll see. I think you'll have at least one.
Our boy Kicking It with Drew. We want to welcome Kicking It with Drew, now part of the Union podcast family. As State of the Soccer, the new Doop or Die podcast. Definitely give that a listen, guys. Drew, I've been watching on YouTube for the past 2 years. Great U.S. soccer content creator. It's a shame Union couldn't get a better result. Also need to get an answer for Corey Burke's absence. Spot on there, Drew. Yeah, our campaign here at Doop by the River is Kai to Philly 2023. That's our guy, Drew. That's our guy. That's our replacement for Corey Burke. So we'll see. But that's kind of like our consensus agreement here is that this team needs some more forward depth. Quinn Sullivan, we love, but not someone you want to kind of depend, especially in playoff situations. And I think everyone has seen enough of Chris Donovan as well.
Yeah, like Quinn coming off the bench is great. He gives you that burst, like that speed, and he gives you that creativity up top and can kind of play out wide.
Right.
But
absolutely.
It's more that veteran presence because, like, again, last year Corey's that vet up top, and Ali is that in the midfield, and you have Jack and Jakob in the defense, and Andre in the back. Like, every position group has that real vet. And this year the forwards are lacking in that vet.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah, Justin, we need to catch a match at Zed's. But yes, guys, any away match, you can find this handsome bald head at Zed's, and definitely I need to try their beer as well. I'm gonna move.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, the owners, Jeff and Lori, who at this point I listen, I'm like Norm from Cheers there. Everyone knows my name, and they listen, their beers are and seltzers.
Hey,
shout out the green apple elderflower seltzer and the peach mango seltzers. Listen, it's a great place. It's a great atmosphere. Jeff and Lori are awesome people, always showing the Union games, and it's a great time. And there's always a great good amount of people. So if you're ever in the South Jersey area and you're good at Zed's, like I said, you'll see this bald head.
Especially during a away match. Justin walks in, they already play the DOOP song as soon as he walks in. So it's
listen. They expect me. Like when I'm not there for away games, they're like,
what's going on? You good?
What's happening? You cheating on us with a different place? Like, what's happening?
Drew, here's the thing with Mbaizo. Dude, the man is so talented coming up the wing. He's got a great crossing leg. But in this system, if you can't get back, my G, like it's really tough to play you match to match out. That's why you've seen a lot of Nathan Harriel, because where Nate may not have that same talent cross, he's still really good at flying up the flank, but he's the best 1v1 defender. And that's kind of the problem with Mbaizo, man.
I've been saying for the last year that Nate Harriel is, and I repeated it to him yesterday, Nate Harriel is this team's best 1v1 defender. Like, tell me, like, in terms of one-on-one on the wings, I want Nate on their winger.
Give me
Nate. He said that is what Nate loves. He relishes. Most fullbacks, they don't want to be isolated out all the time.
He's a little crazy. That's why, man. That's why I love it.
But I think you gotta, as we say, he has that dog in him. But I think you kind of have to. You kind of have to like want that if you're a fullback in the modern game. Like,
yeah, man.
Listen, not everyone can be Trent and just basically be a winger. Like, listen, he's not a fullback. He's a winger. Can't defend for shit. It's like Mbaizo. Like, but like Nate Harriel he's like Ray, if Ray could occasionally get forward but more, like, because he's defensively sound and he can provide that cross. And I think, Mbaizo gives you a lot more going forward, which you could possibly see against New England. But like Nate, for me, is this team's best defender, and it's not even a question.
Yeah, man. One more question, because we're gonna have to get into our New England preview show here, but Kai Wagner had a solid match. Dude, how about breaking the ankles on DiPietro? Oh my god!
Oh my man, that was an one ankle breaker.
Dude,
okay, I might be dating myself on that reference, but for all you old heads, you all understand that reference.
That was
ridiculous.
Dude. It was nice,
man. Kai, like, I think that's the one thing this season. He's like, I feel like he's needed to get forward more, and he's done it, and he's gotten himself in these better positions where he's just created some insane chances. Like, it's ridiculous,
dude. But he's taking shots now. Like, I haven't seen that I've seen it on a more higher clip this season than I have in years prior, and Dude, he's got some goals, man.
Listen, I think that's kind of how you want it to be with Kai. You see him taking these bigger and better chances, and for a team that needs a lot of at this point, when stuff isn't clicking in the final third, having Kai still throwing those balls in is still pretty crucial.
I just want Paul Katrina to know that Ray Gaddis could have done that too, but Jim didn't want him to do that. That's all it was, man. My boy Ray, that's my boy. All right, let's get into it, guys. I'm so excited to catch up with our next guest here, guys. Obviously, Saturday is a big deal. Justin alluded to it, guys. New England's top of the table, right? I think Cincinnati's still with them. I have to double check last night's results, but regardless of the fact, New England seemed to be top of the table for most part of the Eastern Conference this season. Saturday is a big deal. Okay, so we're going to look into this matchup, and of course, as always, helping us preview the matchup here, we got eyes from the other side. Please welcome on in our boy, Mr. Sam Minton. Sam, what's up, brother? How you feeling, man?
What's going on, man? I'm so happy to be on the pod. Absolute blast. Always fun to have a nice matchup between Philadelphia and New England, even though Bruce Arena says it's not a rivalry. So there you go.
Feels like Red Bull and Philly like in the 2010s, man. Dude, it should be fun. Despite what Bruce said, there's going to be some fireworks on Saturday night, man. But before we get into that, dude, what's new with you, man? Obviously, listen, we did feel for you, and obviously the Blazing Musket once the Vox news came out. So first, kind of your process and your transition from Vox and kind of what happened, if you want to tell us a little story of the day, and kind of where Blazing Musket is today right now, man.
Yeah, so it was very fun. Shout out to me on my birthday, finding out that the bent musket was.
Dude, you have to be kidding.
Nope, it was
on
my
your birthday.
I was doing an interview.
Dude.
I was getting ready to do an interview with Esmir Baraktarovic, and before that, got the news. So that was awesome. Great timing. Got an email from someone I've never heard of in my life, and found out the bent musket was basically not going to be funded anymore. It was always something where we knew we wanted to do something similar to over in Philadelphia with the brotherly game kind of linking up with Philadelphia Soccer Now, our Pennsylvania Soccer Now. We knew we wanted to keep going, and so we kind of just figured out how we would keep going. Ended up landing on Substack. Didn't know how the legal process in terms of a name would go, so we ended up kind of rebranding, sort of like the Revolution. Went from the Bent Musket to the Blazing Musket. And it's really been great. We've been able to cover more, local teams, whether it be me covering Vermont Green FC. We now have a Hartford Athletic beat reporter. We have coverage of Rhode Island FC. So, it's really been a blessing in disguise. And, thank God it's been able to work out well. And, I alluded to it before I came on. Special announcement. We got a YouTube channel, folks.
Hey.
Seth McCumber already has an interview with Chris Whittingham of MLS Season Pass on there. Got some shorts up there from our convo with Noel Buck talking about the U20 World Cup, but it's definitely going to be interesting to dive into not just, typing out, writing articles, but also some visual content.
Listen, if he doesn't ask Chris about the hit him in the penis comment that has gone viral from last season, then I think that's a missed opportunity.
Oh boy. But yeah, he said that I believe Seth put that Chris gave him some vocab lesson, so maybe that popped up in there.
You guys got New England soccer locked down. I absolutely love it, dude. It was heartbreaking, and like what a lot of people don't understand is that there is a crap ton of MLS creators, but it's just tough with the market. Obviously, money is always an issue, right? But number two, the popularity is growing, but we're not at where we need to be. So it's so tough for these sites to stay alive, but we need these sites. Because as this sport grows, only we're all going to grow. And so we really do commend you. Thank you for continue doing what you're doing, because obviously we love to see it. But, we also like to figure out what's going on with the Revs too, man. And Sam, you're our guy. Sam.
I appreciate it. And I feel like I'm obligated to say this. So how are them Sixers doing?
Oh, man, he had to go there, dude. We're in disarray. We just fired your boy Doc, and who knows what's going to happen. Harden's going to go to Houston. We're going to trade Joel. Dude, we absolutely have no idea, but It's a mess. It's like Union 2015. No, it's not that bad. Justin's like, wait, no, not that bad.
Yeah, no. Don't give me PTSD here. Let's not go back that far.
That is where we're at. But it's soccer baseball season here in Philadelphia, man. So let's get into it. Obviously, New England last year took a little step back. Obviously, some changes, sold some players as well. That was big. But this year, guys are rolling, man. So kind of explain to us here in Philly, what's been the difference? What's been happening this year? Why you guys have been so good?
I mean, I think a lot of 2022 was everything going not to plan, where in 2021, everything did go to plan. 2021 overexceeded last season, underexceeded. Now I think the Revolution are really finding their level. You had a great start from Dylan Barrero, who really kind of boosted this team early on.
That was a heartbreaking injury, bro.
Yeah, it really was. I'm also getting blamed for the injury. I wasn't at Gillette. I was at a BTS concert, so I'm now being blamed for the injury, which is kind of rough. But yeah, definitely feel for Dylan. But he was getting off to a great start. You have Dave Romney, who's been an absolute beast for the back line. Great addition from Bruce Arena. Bobby Wood out of nowhere tied for the club golden boot.
That's wild,
race.
Man.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. And really, a lot of it comes down to Bruce going after guys, his inter-MLS moves. At occasion, they've left some to be desired when you have guys like Josie Altidore,
Omar Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's been rough for him. I'll give credit to Omar. He's finally gotten to the role where he needs to be, in the sense that, he should be a bench player. Last year, he was kind of thrust into the starting 11. But, you have Dave Romney, Bobby Wood, who come in. You got Latif Blessing, who's come in and been, a really great asset on the wing. And then you have Carlos Heel. As long as you have him, you're going to be able to compete. And I think we've just been lucky here in New England to be able to have this youth movement, whether it be Noel Buck, Jack Panayotu, Esmir Baratarovich. These young players are not just getting minutes, they're starting and, making real names for themselves. So there's definitely the talent there. And then obviously when you have Bruce Arena, you can always compete. So it seems like water has found its level in New England. And, we're starting to see, it definitely surprised me how well they've started.
So let me ask you, because obviously here in Philadelphia, we kind of took the same type of blueprint with our offseason. We did a lot of interleague moves. I want to ask you personally, as someone who covers and watches this league, do you like the interleague moves, especially for like depth, or do you like to go out into Europe and South America to find that talent?
I think when it comes to the Revolution, we've kind of been scarred when it comes to those European moves, in the sense that Giacomo Veroni still seems to be adjusting. He came over, got injured, and then it was just basically all of the rest of last season. He was still finding his form and struggling to, get on the field. And, we saw it with Barrero too last season, really didn't find his form. So it really takes a while for these European players, especially if they come in mid-season, to be able to adjust to MLS. It's a different league, definitely different than over in Europe. So those interleague moves, they can be a bit more quick of a transition. Latif Blessing was able to go in, immediately make an impact. Dave Romney, same thing. He's now your starter. And, if it wasn't for Henry Kessler getting knocked out with that injury as well, a guy like Andrew Farrell might be pushed to the bench. So I think when you're able to make those interleague MLS moves and they're able to immediately make an impact, that's obviously way more advantageous than a European guy who might take a bit longer, or, from wherever, they're acquired from, a bit longer to kind of acclimate to MLS and really be able to make an impact.
It's kind of hard for those Euro guys to adjust that turf field, huh?
Oh, yeah, they love that turf. It's funny, not even the European guys, because obviously when the whole Dylan Barrero thing happened,
right.
Asked Bruce about turf, and Bruce, as usual, did not really want to talk about it. But I asked Latif Blessing, and even himself, he was like, yeah, I don't really like playing on turf. You can get hurt, but, it is what it is. You got to get used to it. So it's not even just, European players. A lot of players don't really like playing on turf. But, yeah, that's definitely a factor. And, sometimes it can be to New England's advantage when you have the likes of Zlatan or whoever it may be coming over and decide not to play. But obviously it can also affect players as well, too, when it comes to maybe getting caught up in it.
Now, I thought I heard rumbling, especially for the World Cup. Like, does Kraft think about maybe putting something else other than turf in Gillette Stadium?
Yeah, no. They actually had their Boston World Cup, the brand reveal, obviously.
Right.
I think we all saw the logo, not great. But Brian Bello did talk, and he said that they are tearing up the turf. And so there is going to be grass. And then I believe at some point afterwards, going to go back to turf, or the grass is at least going to be taken out. I believe there's actually talk of ripping up the turf and just putting on grass instead of what they've done in the past and simply just put grass over the turf. So it's going to be interesting to see, instead of having like that Chelsea game, I believe the turf was just under the grass. Now they're tearing it up completely. So, you don't have to worry about that come World Cup. Messi or Neymar come over, you're not going to be worrying about them on the turf.
I just don't get it. Here I grew up in the south part of New Jersey, and I played football in high school. And there was one school actually in the town where Justin lives now, which is ironic. They had a turf field. We lost like 5 players in that game when we played in there. I hate playing in turf as a football player. As a soccer player, it's even worse. Like, I don't get why they built these turf fields. Like, even Atlanta, like, that's a new stadium. I put turf in there. I mean, I just flat out don't get it. But hey, we got, like you said, you got to adjust. We got to do what we got to do. And of course, the union as well have to do that too. You did mention Bobby Wood. It's not like Bobby came over from Germany like a couple years ago. He had a stint in RSL. So why is it here in New England it's clicking where it didn't in RSL?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is some credence to, giving a shout out to Bruce Arena and just his relationship. He obviously knows of Bobby, and I think just the system in New England, it really needs a target man. And whether it be Giacomo Veroni, Gustavo Bo, those guys, that's not really their game, playing back to the goal and, just holding up players. That's something that Bobby's really good at. And I just think he's been able to get the opportunity. Veroni struggled with injuries at times. Bo's currently struggling with injuries. He's not going to be available for selection against Philadelphia. So you're definitely, I would say, going to see Bobby Wood in the starting 11. And I just think he's just been able to click. He's been able to get a fresh start. He hasn't gotten hurt. I believe he had a little hiccup, but nothing like crazy. He might have missed a game. But he's really been able to stay healthy, which I think is really important. Obviously, coming off that RSL stint, dealing with a pretty major injury. And I have to give a lot of credit just to Bruce Arena and the system he's created. I think that's, I would say not a large part, because I think the player deserves credit, but a decent chunk of why he's been able to find success.
It's interesting to see. Justin, any questions for Sam about New England? Anything you want to know about New England?
No, New England, like it's New England has felt more consistent than Cincinnati has, and I have been insistent. I've been saying this all year that between the two of them, New England would be the more likely to stay up there. Cincinnati, it will definitely fall off, especially if Vasquez leaves, which feels more likely now that Brenner is gone. Vasquez is, I know, rumored to the Bundesliga. But no, yeah, although I will say, if if you didn't know better based on some of the Apple TV talk, you would swear that Jordy Petrovic is the 3-time goalie of the year.
Oh boy, here we go.
And the amount of times I heard he's the best goalie in the league, I said, hold on a minute. We got a guy here who just, might have a word about that one. And I will say Petrovic might not even make it through the summer. If reports are true, he might be gone very soon. And you guys were lucky replacing Matt Turner with him. I don't know if Lightning's going to strike twice on that. So, but I just had to say that because I've been hearing it so often in the Apple TV coverage, and I've just been like, are we forgetting about some of the other goalies in this, especially in this conference alone?
I mean, I have to give credit where credit is due. Andre Blake, I'm going to upset you and say that George Petrovic is better than him, but he's definitely right up there with him. But also, I'll say George Petrovic is a much better goalkeeper than Matt Turner, in the sense Matt Turner said it himself, so you can't get mad at me for saying that. But I just think his potential, his ability, he's going to go to Europe. I think he's probably going to end up in the Premier League. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think he just has that pure shot stopping ability similar to a Matt Turner. I think, just at his age, he's just going to be a really great player. And obviously, I don't watch Philly as much as you guys do, but he's just last season and this season, he's just been able to bail New England out so many times, been able to come up with so many key saves. So maybe I am biased, just covering New England. But if I have to say the best goalkeeper right now, I'm going to have to go with George Petrovic. And like you did mention, it would not surprise me at all if, whether it be the summer transfer window or I kind of agreed to a loan back deal to keep him here for the season. If he's gone, our own Stefan Kumber, he reported that teams, kind of all across Europe are looking at him. There were reports that Manchester United and Liverpool are looking at him. You had Matt Turner go over to Arsenal, obviously hasn't been playing as much, but you kind of established that pipeline and, being able to sell players over to Europe and, to the English Premier League. So it would not surprise me at all if we see him in the Prem one day.
Is there any possibly replacements on the team now, or you guys probably have to go out into the market?
I mean, if we're going to try and replace George Petrovic like we did Matt Turner, we're definitely going to have to go into the market. I do think there is a good goalkeeper in the system, Jacob Jackson, but he's just coming off a major injury. He is back in first team training, but he's a really young guy. He was tearing it up with the second team, and I've been really impressed with how he's played. There's also a player who's on Revs to the second team, but he's kind of far off, a lot younger. I think he's under 20. Max Weinstein played up in Vermont, but has now signed a professional deal with the second team. So it'll be interesting to see how he progresses. I talked to Revs 2 goalie coach Yuta Nomura, and he said he's probably one of the best goalkeepers he's ever, gotten to work with. But if they were to immediately go to an option, I would probably say it's Jacob Jackson. You do have Earl Edwards Jr. on the roster, who might make sense for more of a veteran aspect. But if you're looking for that upside guy who can potentially be your starter long down the road, I think Jacob Jackson could be your guy if you're looking on the New England roster.
Okay. Ryan, what's going on, brother? We appreciate you coming in here, man. I appreciate that. This is my baby. And I knew Sam was coming on. There's no Philly sports today, so I figured let's keep it footy here. So this is the Porto Kits, but my baby, man. I love it.
I mean, sporting's much better. Just want to.
Oh, come on, Sam. What are you doing to me? And I'm just kidding. Dude, what's it? The darker green kits that they have, fucking fire, man. Fire.
Yes, sir.
Top 3 goalkeepers this season: Blake, Petrovic, and Berkey. Ryan Anderson.
I would maybe disagree with Roman Berkey. I think St. Louis, they have kind of petered off this year. After a very, very hot start to the season, they have very much leveled off. And that has been more due to Joe Klaus being hurt. Their DP striker, Jared Stroud, has leveled off. They've started to kind of normalize. But I would say, Andre and Jordy are definitely top 2. And like I said, at this point, if we're going, I still have to say, as much as I hated Pedro Gallese,
not getting much help, but yeah.
But it's definitely still, one of those very much up there. And another close shout would be Carlos Cornell. Again, another player not getting much help
at all, dude.
No.
Also, give a shout out to Vancouver's goalkeeper. I'm forgetting his name, but he, I believe, last month had an absolutely insane.
He came over from the J League, and
are they turning into a goalkeeping factory over there?
Well, so I did not know much about him. So, they joke my inside source is my good pal Dan Orlowitz, works for the Japan Times.
Shouts to Dan.
And of course, when you play D&D with somebody, and so you do a little inside. And I asked him about this goal, and he said, he was with Yokohama Marinos, and he was definitely a big part of their success. A guy who is kind of on the national team radar, and is definitely one of those. I mean, I've seen it. I've watched. Vancouver's one of the teams where because of the timing, by the time I get home from the Union games, typically those games are on, so it's easy to catch. Yeah, I mean, there have been games where he's absolutely like, I mean, I remember, Andre back in the day having to pull the team into 3 points.
Takoka?
Yeah, Takaoka. He has absolutely his reflexes. I mean, he's not a very big goalie, but his reflexes, his positioning, and it's why I would say that Andre is such a good goalie. Is most of the goalkeeping is all about positioning. If you are positioned well, you do not need much to get in, and it's all about reflexes. Those two things combined can make an elite shot stopper. And Takaoka for sure has just been next level for Vancouver. And so, yeah, someone with Vancouver and the goalies, man, they just seem to produce solid goalies left and right.
Must be nice, man. It must be nice. All right, Sam, let's get into this matchup, back into this matchup here. Let's get to this lineup here. So what could the lineup look like for New England Saturday night?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, you're not going to see Gustavo Bo. He's out with a left leg injury. So I would imagine, kind of basing off the last lineup we saw from Bruce Arena, that we see Bobby Wood up top at striker. With the loss of Dylan Barrera, we've been seeing Ima Boateng kind of start on that left wing. You have the option of, a guy like Latif Blessing possibly playing on the wing, but also could play in the middle of the field as well, too. Obviously, you have Carlos Heel at the 10. The back line's pretty solid in terms of Petrovic, and then in front of him, DeJuan Jones, Dave Romney, Andrew Farrell, Brandon Bai. And then it can vary in the midfield, whether it be Matt Polster getting some, anchor of that, defensive midfield. Noel Buck has been getting a lot of playing time, deservedly so, has been playing great. Had that goal taken away against Miami, but that was just a great display of his offensive ability. But also, too, we've seen Jack Panayotto and Esmir Baratarovich get some playing time. But if I have to imagine, you'll probably see Polster and Buck continue to get playing time. But also, too, when it comes to New England, there's always that surprise injury that we find out randomly right before kickoff. So maybe all of this could be for naught. But, yeah, that's pretty much. I would expect a similar lineup to what they trotted out in their last match against Inter Miami.
Okay. Justin, what do you think will happen as the lineup goes?
As I always say, write it with a permanent marker. Andre, like, for the chances he did have to, and there were some good chances from DC in the first half. He didn't have to do much in the second half. Secures a clean sheet. The back line, I still think that Damian Lowe gets rotated in here. I said in either the DC game or the New England game, I felt that Damian Lowe would rotate in, and at this point, typically he's been rotating in for Jack Elliott, who did have a better game, and Jakob Glesnes, who may need to take Christian Benteke out of his pocket before he suits up against New England. For the right back, I feel like for the purposes of this team, I think they're going to switch. I think Olivier is going to get the start. Obviously, I said I know Nate's the better defensive, but
I don't know, man. Noah's got some good wingers, man.
But I think without Barrero, that's kind of like,
that's true.
If Dylan Barrero was in, I would say yes. Nate Harriel, being the team's best 1v1 defender, you need him. But I think Olivier, despite some of his defensive lapses, it is enough where him and Kai can put pressure on Jones and Bai. And I think that could be a key battle, is which of the team's fullbacks can get higher up the pitch, because that is still a big part of the way Bruce Arena plays, is his ability for the fullbacks to get involved in the offense. In the midfield, I think Albuquerque starts. You saw him get about 25 to 30 minutes off the bench. Looked good. Was actually had some dangerous chances. I know for El Brujo, him getting a dangerous chance is it only going 5 yards over the net instead of 10. But he actually did have some decent chances. Again, with no McGlynn, I think you're probably going to see Leon and Ali. I was pleasantly surprised to see Ali Bedoya subbed off in like the 70th minute to get rest because fuck, that never ever happens. And Jim Curtin subbing for the 60th minute, that never happens, and yet it happened in the DC game. So, you know, who knows? And up top, listen, Daniel Gazdag is still doing well. I mean, I know the knock on him, and I still don't understand it, is all his goals have come as PKs, but hey, you still got to create the chances and score them. Like, he's still doing well. His numbers are more balanced this season. Obviously Carranza, and I think Uwak gets the start back. I think you kind of brought him in off the bench, obviously, you know, coming in off the procedure he had over the weekend. But I think, listen, the front three, we've been talking about the stop-startness that they've kind of been having, but with this front three, the way they've been, you know, the way we know they can play, I do like this matchup, and I would say typically it's gonna be the 4-4-2, but Jim has, you know, been tinkering with the lineup. He's thrown a lot more. He's been throwing 3-5-2. See, Jim must have been hearing me clamoring for a back three for like the last 3 seasons.
We know Jim listens to DOOP by the River,
and finally has but I will say probably it's still gonna be a 4-4-2 at home. But I think you're seeing that there's more tactical flexibility. So with the subs, obviously, again, you're a little limited because you're missing, you know, some you know, some of your homegrowns through the U20 World Cup. But I still think you're going to see a pretty standard lineup for Saturday.
Okay. All right. Let's get into some predictions here. Sam, give us a prediction as always. What is a key for the Union to beat New England on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's just like you mentioned, if they're able to kind of, I would key in on DeJuan Jones, because without Dylan Barrero, the Revs don't really have a player who can go directly at opponents on the wing. That was Dylan Barrero. It was kind of reminiscent of a guy like Tajon Buchanan being able to do that. But now without him, it's really up to DeJuan Jones to be able to go at defenders. We've been seeing him kind of, you know, interlap and kind of move more centrally, but on that wing, he's going to be very crucial. So I think if you're able to shut him down, that's going to be very crucial for Philadelphia. I think that's probably the key. But then also, too, there is the fact that there still is Carlos Gil. So if you're able to be physical, kind of get him off his game, even though he was kind of able to get over that against Inter Miami. It was an absolute chaos of a game, whether it be officiating or Carlos Gil just getting battered. But yeah, I think besides obviously stopping the former MVP, if you're able to limit DeJuan Jones and his ability to kind of go at defenders, that Philadelphia Union could have a potentially nice evening.
Should be interesting. Justin, I'm a little concerned about this matchup because the mindset of this team, like, we're still trying to figure it out, and it's going to be a tough one Saturday. I mean, New England, you know, Bruce is going to have those guys ready. So how do you feel about this one? What do you think is going to happen?
Listen, if it were on the road, you know, me, the Union on the road is a different animal. But listen, the Sioux has been a fortress the last few seasons. This season, even when the Union aren't playing great, they still managed to get at least a point. I thought realistically it was going to be a win against DC and a draw against New England. But I think I'll reemphasize the point I made earlier. The real battle is going to be on those wings. I mean, yeah, a Brujo Carlos Gil matchup is kind of what you're going to be expecting, but I think if you have Kai and Olivier versus DeJuan Jones and Brendan Bai, again, if you can force DeJuan Jones to have to play defense to kind of keep back, and listen, Kai and Olivier both do very good jobs of threading those balls through. And if Mikel Uwa is starting, the thing he does better than anyone on this team and better than a number of guys in this league, he finds those channels and goes straight on goal. Doesn't make those wide runs that Casper used to make. No, he makes those direct runs on net. He forces the back line to really get pulled out of position. And even if he doesn't get, you know, the shot off, you're going to have, Julian and Daniel crashing right in behind. So I think that fullback play, that wing play is going to be very key to dictating which team has the lion's share of the chances.
All right. Well, there you have it. Sam. First off, that's gonna do it for this edition of Dupe by the River. But Sam, man, thank you so much for coming on air. We really do appreciate it. We're happy to hear that now the Blazing Musket will continue on. So please let the people know if they got that little itch for some New England content. Where can they find it?
Yeah, so definitely follow us on Twitter at the Blazing Musket. You can also, check us out on the internet, www.theblazingmusket.com, and also make sure to check out the new YouTube channel. We already got content up there for you. You should be able to find it with a nice little search, The Blazing Musket. And gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Look, as I always say, we may not like the Revs, we may not like the Red Bull, we may not like NYCFC, but as a community, as we continue growing this league, it's important to support each other, especially content creators, because we're all trying to make it through this, right? So definitely show some love to the Blazing Musket. We thank Sam and everyone over at the Blazing Musket for continue doing what they are doing. But yes, that will do for this episode of Dupe by the River. We'll have the links to all the Blazing Musket in the description, so make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe for more of your live viewings here on El Barcelona Phillies YouTube channel. Make sure you guys follow on Twitter, subscribe where you stream podcasts as well. Find us on the Dupe by the River podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Sam Minton of the Blazing Musket. Of course, that is Justin Bruce Juice Distributor Friedberg. I go by the name El Barcelona Philly, and we're telling you guys